Text threads. Evan had always been the steady type, the guy who double-checked the smoke detectors, planned date nights around her favorite indie flicks, and folded his socks into perfect little soldiers. Marriage to Mia after 7 years was like a well-worn playlist, comfortable grooves, occasional skips, but mostly harmonious. Until that Thursday evening in their cozy Brooklyn walk-up, when the playlist glitched. He was sprawled on the couch, half watching a Knicks game while scrolling job listings, freelance graphic design gigs to supplement his agency paycheck. Mia was in the kitchen, perched on a bar stool, her phone glowing like a conspirator's lantern. Laughter bubbled from her, soft, unguarded, the kind she used to reserve for their inside jokes about bad karaoke nights. Evan glanced up, catching the name on her screen, Jordan. Her best friend from college, the guy who'd been a fixture in her stories since freshman orientation. Harmless, right? But the texts flew fast, emojis exploding like fireworks, inside references to some podcast they'd binged together last week. A twinge hit Evan's gut, not full-blown rage, but the low hum of static, like interference on a clear signal. He muted the TV, wandered over with 2 mugs of chamomile. "Who's got you grinning like that?" Secret admirer. Mia didn't miss a beat, thumbs still flying. "Oh, just Jordan. He sent this ridiculous meme about our old prof. Remember the one with the comb-over? Dying." She hit send, then sipped her tea, eyes flicking back to the screen as it buzzed in reply. Evan leaned on the counter, mug warm against his palm. "Jordan, huh? You two text a lot these days." It came out lighter than he felt, but the jealousy coiled tighter, irrational, he knew, but vivid. Jordan, tall, witty, single. The kind of guy who could quote Vonnegut over beers and still fix a leaky faucet. She looked up then, brow arching in that playful dismissal she wielded like a shield. "Evan, come on. It's platonic. We've been friends forever, nothing there. You're being silly." A quick peck on his cheek, then back to her phone, the conversation resuming as if he'd been a commercial break. Silly, the word stung like salt in a paper cut. Evan retreated to the couch, the game a blur. Platonic, he echoed in his head, staring at the ceiling cracks that mapped their arguments like fault lines. If it was so innocent, so nothing, why the fortress around it? And if she could nurture this digital bromance without a second thought, well, fair play. The thought crystallized, sharp and retaliatory. Guess she's cool with me doing the same. Eye for an emoji. The next morning, over rushed oatmeal, Evan fired off a text to Lena, his old art school buddy, the one who'd crashed on their couch during her divorce last year. Sharp-tongued illustrator, zero drama, and yeah, they'd always clicked over shared sketches and sarcasm. "Hey, remember that god-awful life drawing class? Prof caught us giggling like idiots. Found a sketch you did, total fire. What's your latest chaos?" He hit send before doubt could delete it, heart thumping like a bass drop. Lena's reply pinged mid-commute. A string of laughing emojis, then a photo of her latest commission, a vibrant mural of urban foxes in fedoras. "Chaos level, expert, you, still surviving the corporate grind?" Spill. Evan grinned, thumbs dancing, barely. Mia's buried in reports, I'm doodling escape plans. Foxes in hats, genius. We need a collab night, beers and bad ideas. By lunch, it was a thread. Memes about pretentious clients, throwbacks to their disastrous pottery wheel fail, clay everywhere, dignity nowhere. Her venting about a flaky date, him countering with a dry roast. Innocent? Absolutely. Electric? Undeniably. He felt seen, unscripted, unfiltered, the way Mia must with Jordan. That night, Mia beat him home, takeout Thai steaming on the table. She was mid-story about her day when his phone chirped from his pocket. "Ooh, work," she teased, leaning in as he pulled it out. Evan angled the screen just enough, Lena's latest, collab ASAP. "I'll bring the wine, you bring the sarcasm. Deal." He typed back, casual as chamomile, "Deal. Your foxes need my foxes." "Nah, just Lena, throwing around some art ideas. She's got this wild style, keeps me inspired." Mia's fork paused over pad thai, eyes narrowing like a glitch in the Matrix. "Lena, the one who flirted with you at that gallery opening." It wasn't accusatory, yet, but the edge was there, a mirror of his own static from last night. He shrugged, echoing her script with a wink. "Flirted? Ancient history, babe, it's platonic, nothing there, she's just a friend." The words tasted like sweet revenge, but underneath a hollow ping. This what we do now. Weaponize the what-ifs. She set her fork down, the clink a punctuation mark. Evan, seriously, out of nowhere. He met her gaze, the jealousy from yesterday flipping like a switch, now hers, raw and reflected. Out of nowhere. Kinda like your Jordan memes yesterday. You brushed me off silly, remember? So yeah, if it's cool for you to have your bestie buffer, why not me? Fair's fair. The air thickened, Ty forgotten. Mia's cheeks flushed, not with anger, but something vulnerable, a crack in the fortress. God, I didn't mean to brush you. Jordan's just safe. No stakes. But seeing you light up like that, with her, it twists me up. She reached across the table, fingers brushing his. Jealousy's stupid, but it's real. I don't want buffers. I want us. Evan's thumb traced her knuckles, the thread with Lena suddenly a prop in a play he'd outgrown. He silenced his phone, the buzz fatting to quiet. Same. Stupid and real. Let's ditch the besties for hire. Movie, your pick, no phones. She nodded, a small laugh breaking the tension. Deal. But if it's rom-coms, you're on sketch duty. No foxes allowed. As the credits rolled later, tangled on the couch, Evan deleted the thread, not out of spite, but space. Jealousy was a glitch, sure, but one they could debug together. Threads could tangle, better to weave them as one. Echoes at the edge of the table. David had always been the anchor, the one who tied the knots while Sarah chased the wind. 12 years of marriage, 2 kids tucked in with the babysitter, and he still remembered the way her laughter used to snag on his collar like wildflowers on a hike. Tonight, he adjusted his tie in the rearview mirror of their Subaru, the kind of tie she'd picked out last Father's Day, crisp blue against his button-down. You sure you want me tagging along? He'd asked earlier, half joking, as they pulled into the valet lot of La Belle Epoque, the upscale French bistro where her marketing firm threw its quarterly soirees. Sarah had squeezed his hand, her nails a fresh manicure in coral that matched her wrap dress. Of course, babe, you're my plus one. It'll be fun networking, wine, the works. Her smile was a sparkler, bright but fleeting, and David let it warm him. He wasn't the schmoozer. He taught high school history, turning dusty timelines into campfire tailies for bored teens. But for her, he'd dust off his small talk like an old playbook. The dining room hummed with clinking crystal and murmured ambitions, long communal tables draped in linen, candlelight dancing off name tags like fireflies on steroids. Sarah's team spotted them immediately, a chorus of air kisses and backslaps, her boss toasting their arrival with a flute of Veuve Clicquot. David, the man behind the myth, someone quipped, and Sarah laughed, looping her arm through his for the obligatory photo op. Seated at the far end, amid the junior execs, David played his part, nodding at pitches for viral campaigns, complimenting appetizers that tasted like overpriced regret. The escargot's adventurous, he said to a graphic designer named Claire, who giggled and refilled his water. Then it shifted like a tide pulling out. Sarah's phone buzzed, a text from across the room, and her eyes lit up. Oh, that's Tyler. I need to say hi. He's been buried in that Tokyo pitch. Tyler. The name she'd dropped like confetti lately. Tyler's idea was brilliant. Tyler's killing it on the client call. Tyler's got this energy that's just infectious. David had smiled through the stories, chalking it up to work-wife vibes. Go on, he said, pressing a kiss to her temple. Mingle. I'll hold the fort. She did, vanishing into the crowd like smoke, her coral dress a comet tail weaving through suits and sheath dresses. David watched from his perch, nursing a Bordeaux that soured on his tongue. Not jealousy, no, that sharp hook had dulled years ago, worn smooth by trust and Tuesday night takeout. Just a quiet observation, the way she leaned into Tyler's space at the bar, her hand brushing his sleeve as she threw her head back in laughter. It wasn't overt, not a full flirtation, but the almost there kind, the lingering gaze, the playful nudge when he whispered something about their inside joke from the brainstorm sesh. Tyler mirrored it, all easy charm and dimpled grins, his hand grazing her elbow as he passed her a drink. You're a lifesaver, Sar, he said, voice carrying just far enough. Sarah's reply was a conspirator's whisper, her fingers twisting her wedding band absent-mindedly. David's chest tightened, not with fire, but with the slow seep of something colder. Resignation, maybe, or the echo of all the nights she'd come home late, buzzing with Tyler's tailies while he microwaved leftovers. If this is fine for her, he thought, swirling his glass, then it's fine for me. No drama, no scene, just equilibrium. He scanned the table. Claire from design, with her cascade of auburn curls and freckles like scattered stars. Then Mia, the copywriter, sharp-eyed and quick with a quip, her laugh a melody that cut through the din. Why not? He started small, leaning toward Claire as the main course arrived. Coq au vin, rich and unctuous. So, what's the wildest campaign you've ever pulled off? He asked, his voice dipping into that storyteller cadence he saved for his students. She lit up, launching into a tale of guerrilla street art in Soho, her hands gesturing wildly, wine sloshing perilously close to the tablecloth. David matched her energy, his laugh genuine, eyes locking hers with the kind of intent that said, I see you. A brush of knuckles when passing the bread basket, accidental but not. You're a natural performer, he said, and she blushed, tucking a curl behind her ear. Coming from a teacher, high praise. Mia joined the orbit next, sliding her chair closer during dessert. Creme brulee, the caramel crack a perfect punctuation. David, Sarah says you're the history buff. What's one story that make us all quit our jobs? He spun the yarn of the night witches, Soviet pilots bombing Nazis under moonlight, his words painting the sky alive. Mia's gaze held his, unblinking, her foot nudging his under the table in mock conspiracy. You're dangerous, she teased, her voice a velvet hook. Making desk jobs sound boring. He winked, the flirtation light as air, almost, but enough to feel the pull, the mirror of Sarah's barside ballet. Across the room, Sarah's comet arced back, her cheeks flushed from laughter or the third glass of Pinot. She dropped into the seat beside him, arm draping possessive over his shoulder. Miss me? But her eyes weren't on him, they flicked to Claire's animated gestures, to Mia's lingering lean. The air shifted, her grip tightening like a vice. Having fun? It was casual, but the undercurrent roiled. Jealousy, raw and unbidden, her smile a brittle shell. David turned, meeting her gaze with the calm of a man who'd mapped this terrain long ago. Tons. Your team's incredible. Claire's got stories that curl your toes, and Mia, sharp as a tack. He let the words hang, innocent as hers had been, but laced with the unspoken. See, easy, isn't it? Sarah's laugh came too quick, too high, her hand dropping to his knee in a claim stake. Yeah, well, Tyler's hilarious. You should have heard his Tokyo bit. But her eyes darted, the almost flirt now a ghost between them, her body language screaming what her words wouldn't. This isn't the same. The drive home was a minefield of small talk, traffic, the kids' school play, until the silence cracked like that creme brulee crust. You were cozy back there, she said, voice thin as the dashboard glow. With Claire and Mia flirting. David's hands flexed on the wheel, the city lights blurring into streaks. Not anger, not accusation, just the quiet unraveling. Cozy, like you with Tyler, the laughs, the touches. I figured it was all good work friends, right? No big deal. He glanced at her, the woman he'd vowed to weather with, her profile etched in regret she hadn't voiced yet. If that's the vibe, why not share it? Sarah's breath hitched, a sob swallowed whole. It's not God, David, it's different. Tyler's just harmless, but you, with them, it felt like betrayal, she didn't say, but the word hung heavy, a noose of hypocrisy tightening around her throat. Tears welled, hot and unbidden, spilling over as the suburbs swallowed them. I didn't mean to leave you alone, I just got caught up, and seeing you like that, it gutted me, like I'm not enough. He pulled over under a sodium street lamp, the engines hummed the only heartbeat between them. David's hand found hers, calloused palm to trembling fingers, but his voice was a whisper of wind over embers, steady but spent. Gutted you? Babe, I've been the ghost at those tables for years. The plus one who fades while you shine. Tonight, I just match the light. If it's harmless for you, it should be for me. But it's not, is it? Not when the shoe pinches. She crumpled then, forehead to the dash, sobs racking her like aftershocks. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I talk about him too much. It's stupid, it's nothing, but it feels like something because work's my escape, and you're my safe. I don't want to lose that. Her words dissolved into salt and snot. The emotional dam she'd built against the monotony of carpools and mortgage payments fracturing wide. David pulled her close over the console, her curls damp against his shirt, the scent of her perfume, jasmine and regret filling the car like fog. He held her as the tears came, not in triumph or spite, but in the ache of almost lost things. The realization that their orbit had tilted, her flirtations a flare he'd ignored until it scorched them both. We fix this, he murmured, throat tight. No more almosts, no more ghosts. By the time they eased into the driveway, the night had softened to dawn's promise, but the echo lingered, a trigger pulled in the quiet, reminding them that love wasn't just light. It was the shadows they chose to face together. Or alone. Echoes of a rye toast, sarcasm dialed to 11. The chapel's stained glass saints looked like they were judging the whole affair, which was fitting because Uncle Harlan was already halfway through his third scotch and fully committed to judging everything. At 68, Harlan was the human equivalent of a for sale sign on a lemon of a car, charming from afar, but get close and you'd spot the rust, the mileage lies, and that one door that only opens if you kick it just right. Nephew Tommy, 28 and glowing like a fool who just signed a lifetime lease on love, had barely finished smooching his bride, Eliza, when Harlan materialized like a bad rash during the cocktail hour. Tumbler sloshing, an unlit cigar clamped between teeth like a prop from a bad noir flick. "Tommy, you magnificent idiot," Harlan crooned, slapping Tommy's back hard enough to dislodge a lung or two. "Marriage. Oh, what a scam, bigger than my '98 Taurus with the new engine that was really just prayers and duct tape. One day you're the lord of the manor, strutting around like you invented romance. The next, you're the court eunuch fetching her dry cleaning and wondering if till death do us part includes dying of boredom." Tommy chuckled, still buzzed on wedding champagne and the delusion that eternal bliss was a thing, figuring this was Harlan's opener for some ribald yarn about his own 3 ex-wives. But Harlan's eyes, craftier than a fox in a henhouse henna salon, narrowed with the glee of a man who'd seen more honeymoons sour than a dairy farm in July. They escaped to the veranda, where the sunset was doing its dramatic orange thing, and Harlan propped an elbow on the railing like he owned the damn horizon. "Buckle up, buttercup, weddings. They're for suckers and the people who make those inflatable arch thingies. But here's the gospel truth, straight from the church of I told you so. One fine day, don't say I didn't warn ya, your blushing bride'll start pulling a Houdini. Not with fireworks, nah, just this sneaky little drift, like she's got an invisible tether to Narnia and you're left holding the lamppost. Laughs, shorter than a politician's promise. Nights, longer than a filibuster on Fast Forward. And then, oh, the poetry. The Lone Rangers'll trot in. Some slick colleague from her office, or maybe that totally platonic barista who remembers her latte order better than you remember your anniversary. Tommy fidgeted, the bubbly turning to battery acid in his veins. "Uncle, ease up. Eliza's rock solid. We're like peanut butter and jelly, in it for the long haul." Harlan threw his head back and cackled, a sound like gravel in a blender. "Rock solid? Kid, that's what I told my first wife about that waterproof roof right before the monsoon turned our bedroom into a koi pond. But fine, play the optimist. It'll make the fall funnier. Now the pro tip, and I say this with all the sincerity of a timeshare pitch. Tit for bloody tat, my naive little grasshopper. The second she starts ping-ponging texts with some solo stud muffin. Hey, just sharing this hilarious cat vid at 2 a.m. No biggie, you grab your own butterfly net and snag a single siren. Some sweet thing from yoga or the dog park doesn't matter. Fire off a missed our chats, spill the tea on that promotion. Boom, balance restored. And oh, won't she be thrilled? Darling, go wild, text away. It's not like I mind you giggling at memes with Miss Thang while I'm over here alphabetizing the spice rack. Equality's the spice of life, right? He punctuated it with a theatrical wink that could have powered a lighthouse, followed by a nudge so aggressive it nearly toppled Tommy over the rail. Nudge, nudge. Because nothing says happily ever after like mutual side-eye and a side salad of suspicion. Wink, wink, say it with me now. Fair's fair, or the whole circus burns. Tommy mustered a laugh that sounded like it was gargling nails, waving it off as peak Harlan, the guy who'd once advised his sister on child-rearing with just feed him whiskey and let Darwin sort it out. "You're a riot, uncle, pure gold. But seriously, thanks, I think." They toasted, Harlan's smirk screaming, "You'll thank me when you're crying into your cornflakes." As Tommy twirled Eliza on the dance floor, her veil a halo of denial, those words burrowed in like ticks at a picnic. One day. Tit for tat, wink wink. 7 years on, the fog Harlan prophesied didn't creep. It crashed in like a budget airline, late, overbooked, and reeking of regret. Tommy and Eliza's cozy Boston brownstone. Now a demilitarized zone where date night, meant synchronized Netflix pauses, and growing together was code for growing in opposite directions, thanks. She was queen bee at her PR hive. Endless team building, soirees that ended with her stumbling in at dawn, mascara smudged like war paint. He. Still knee-deep in ledgers, tallying columns that added up to zilch but over time. The drift hit warp speed. Silences thicker than her new kale smoothies, vacations solo style, her to some ashram in Bali for self-discovery, him to a cabin in the Adirondacks for self-pity and pabst. Then the texts, not a whisper, a siren wail. Tommy clocked the first glow at 11:03 p.m. Derek work with a heart eyes emoji that screamed innocent like a fox in a henhouse. Brainstorming, he'd probed once, all casual like a bomb squad tech. Totally campaign ideas, genius stuff, she'd chirped, thumb a blur. But the barrage built, LOLs at lunch hours, voice memos that made her snort giggle in the shower, a can't sleep you. At ungodly o'clock she dismissed as networking. Derek, single as a Pringle, ex-Marine with a TED Talk vibe and abs that had their own zip code. Platonic. Sure, like sharks and chum are BFFs. Tommy stewed, Harlan's rasp on repeat, tit for bloody tat. No big showdown, not yet. Instead, one drizzly Tuesday, he unearthed his phone's fossil layer. Sarah, the firecracker from his old trivia league. Single, snarky illustrator who'd once roasted his trivia answers as adorably wrong, like a puppy guessing pie. Hey, trivia tragique, still mangling pop culture or upgraded to actual facts. Beers to celebrate my survival of another deadline. Send. Regret. Nah, just a pulse quickening like he'd chugged espresso. Ping back in 90 seconds flat. Tommy, facts are for amateurs. Beers it is, your treat for that time you thought Bohemian Rhapsody was a dessert. Spill, how's domestic bliss treating ya? It unspooled like old times, quips on bad bosses, memes mocking mutual exes. A hypothetically, if I sketched your life as a comic, it'd be all capes and chaos. No cloak and dagger, just daylight dynamite that nuked the gray from his days. Eliza's radar pinged like a jealous submarine, week 4 over lukewarm lo mein. Fork hovering like a guillotine, she struck. Sarah again? What's her angle recruiting you for some cult of singlehood? The lilt was sugar-coated, but the subtext snarled. Tommy lounged back, Harlan's poltergeist puppeteering his shrug into a masterpiece of mock innocence. Angle? Nah, just networking, Eliza. Old trivia pals swapping war stories on deadlines and disasters. You know, the harmless kind. Why you cool with it? Cause equality's the jam, right? Go team chat. He flashed a grin wide enough to crack walnuts, eyes twinkling with borrowed mischief. Her fork clattered like a verdict. Phone flipped turtle style, first time since the fog factory opened. Yeah, whatever, as long as it's nothing. The word hung, sour as wee-cold milk. Nothing, Tommy parroted, savoring the echo like Harlan's finest single malt burn, tart, twisted, and triumphantly true. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. Fair's fair or fetch the matches. That night, as Eliza doom-scrolled in frosty silence, Tommy's glow answered Sarah's latest. A doodle of a fog-shrouded night, sword-labeled sarcasm. Your move, sir, texts a lot. What's the fog hiding in your quest? One poorly aimed catapult, mostly, he fired back. But hey, chivalry's overrated, pass the popcorn for the plot twist. In that pixelated pushback, Tommy gulped fresh air, the first in forever. Harlan nailed it, not the doom scroll of divorce, but the delicious derision of the dance. Marriage. Less vow, more vaudeville, complete with pratfalls and pie fights. Eliza's haze might thicken to thunderhead or thin to trade winds. Sarah's spark could fizzle or flare. Either way, Tommy saluted the sage who'd schooled him in spikes. To the sauce, the scales, and the sweet sting of I told you so. Wink. Nudge. And a middle finger to the fog for good measure.